Our first guest tonight to talk about the impact of presidential choice and appointing a constitutional conservative on the Supreme Court. With us tonight, Congressman Ron DeSantis. He sits on the Judiciary Committee, Foreign Affairs and Oversight, and Government Reform Committee. Also, Republican candidate for governor of Florida. I'm going to start with first the role of the candidate here. You've got you have got many duties right now. Last night in a debate with your opponent in Florida, you've been running behind in the most recent polls. Do you believe that last night you brought yourself even or perhaps ahead of your opponent?
Well, Lou, we define the race. I'm a conservative Iraq veteran endorsed by President Trump. He is a career politician who's been in office since he was 22 years old. He supported bailouts for Wall Street. He supported the Gang of Eight, Schumer, Obama amnesty, and he opposed E-Verify in Florida because he wants to ensure cheap foreign labor for his donors. So Republican voters now know that, and I think we're going to win decisively.
And that election, of course, very important, and it's a choice that's clearly defined, as you said it. It'll be interesting to see how the people of Florida respond. What do you see as the most important issue in the decision of those voters as they go to the polls?
Well, for the primary, they want somebody who's going to lead with purpose and conviction. They don't want a career politician who was cursing Donald Trump during the campaign. You know, my opponent, even when Trump fired Comey, I was out there defending the decision because I knew Comey should have been fired the day it happened. He said that Trump's decision was curious, the timing, and that Comey needed to come in and testify against Trump. So this is not somebody that stood with the president. This is not somebody that's demonstrated leadership in any way. And I think people look at me, you know, not only do I have a vision for Florida's future by making our courts better with conservative justices, by expanding our economic base and reforming education, but I have the leadership ability to get it done.
And there isn't any part of the principal issues facing government that you have been involved in, if I may add to the list. Congressman, let's turn to the announcement by Anthony Kennedy of his resignation at the end of next month. The president's going to make his choice. He says on July 9th, the first Monday after our July 4th Independence Day holiday. Your thoughts about moving this quickly and what the influence and impact will be of all of this?
Well, I think it's huge, and I think President Trump kept his word. He said he was going to appoint constitutionalists, not just to the Supreme Court, but the Court of Appeals. And I have no doubt he's going to nominate a strong candidate for this, and I think that candidate will be confirmed. And once you have that confirmation of a new constitutional conservative on the court, we'll be able to say that in less than 2 years as president, Donald Trump has done a better job of appointing judges, both on the Supreme Court and the Courts of Appeal, than any Republican president in modern times.
And I think we could add to that, he has an unprecedented record for any president under 2 years in office for his achievements, his accomplishments, his successes, and you name it, whether it be economic policy, domestic policy, international trade, North Korea, the list goes on and on. With I didn't even get the tax cuts and deregulation, but the man has shown such positive leadership. He's literally, I think, can be credited with turning America around in his short time in office.
Well, and I mean, he's had to do that in the face, as you were mentioning in your open, having to deal with the fallout with people like Peter Strzok and their misconduct by launching this collusion narrative that hovered over his presidency for at least, probably the first half of his first year. Now, as guys like me started digging in, I think it became apparent to the American people some time ago that this was politically motivated by the anti-Trump bias you see from people like Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, and obviously people like Comey who color outside the lines, McCabe who doesn't tell the truth. Yeah. So, but he's had to deal, I mean, just think of those achievements, having to deal deal with that he should have never had to deal with.
True. And, and again, going to the leadership of the conference, whether in the House or the Senate, they have been basically absent in the midst of important issues. And as you say, you and others, Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows, Matt Gaetz, others in the House of Representatives, if they had not stood, and Devin Nunes, for crying out loud, if you all hadn't stood up, it would have been a different moment in history, and a good on you. Let's turn to the Judiciary Committee and the parade now of the director of the FBI, the Deputy Attorney General. This is really appalling stuff, because even as Devin Nunes has threatened, as others have threatened them with contempt and ultimately impeachment, there's nothing happening. I mean, there's a threat, then there is an avoidance of the deadline, ignoring the deadline on the part of those who are under the oversight of Congress, and then there's another period. I guess the question becomes, do you believe the leadership right now, the Republican leadership in Congress, really means it this time?
Lou, I mean, if history's any guide, don't hold your breath. I mean, what have they been doing the last 2 weeks when this has all come to a head? We have an opportunity to really turn the screws to force Rosenstein to comply. They were trying to pass an amnesty bill in the House. Mm-hmm. They put an amnesty bill on the floor on Wednesday, and it got 120 votes. It got Goodlatte's bill got 193 votes. They whipped it harder, they got 120. So it was just a total failure. And if they put as much effort into getting compliance with Rosenstein as they did in the amnesty fight, then boy, we'd have the documents by now. And that's why I think as we look forward, if Jim Jordan is going to run for Speaker of the House, one thing I can tell you about Jim, he would get the documents tomorrow. I guarantee it.
Well, somebody needs to awaken the conference, and I know that you all have been working hard, but I have never seen a more laggard, lazy group of people than the leadership of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives. I know that's going to upset a lot of people hearing me say that, but the fact of the matter is they deserve the accolades I'm offering up for their progress and success. It has been abysmal. And I really, right now, the best thing the Republicans have going for them are the Democrats, who are awful. Today, talking about abolishing immigration and customs enforcement. What's next? Local police departments? I don't understand how any Republican could fail to win against a group of Democrats.
Well, look, I think we have a great shot to keep the House, win seats in the Senate, keep our governorships. Obviously, I want to do that in Florida. But when you look at what's happening with the left, they're completely unhinged right now. Somebody like Maxine Waters, with her lunatic ravings and rantings, she is really going on dangerous territory. I've supported Andy Biggs' resolution to censure her. Because I was at the congressional baseball practice when James Hodgkinson showed up that day. He was shooting at a lot of our guys. He was a rabid Bernie, anti-Trump, MSNBC watching leftist. And I just see what Maxine is doing is very, very dangerous and irresponsible. And I think she needs to be held to account for that.